Right now, you're being held by the earth, moved by the air, warmed by fire, and carried by water.
But when was the last time you actually noticed? When was the last time you worked with them instead of just moving through them?
Hello, welcome, merry meet. I'm Ned.
I'm Emma.
We are two friends revisiting our love for all things witchy, magical, spiritual, and paranormal.
This podcast is us feeling our way through and exploring all the possibilities, and we'd like to invite you along for the journey.
In today's episode, we're talking all about the elements earth, air, fire, water, and spirit, and how they connect to our everyday lives and our magic. We're going to explore how you can call them in before spellwork, what each element represents, some of their correspondences, and a few simple rituals you can start working with. We'll also share a bit of history and folklore behind elemental magic along the way. But before we dive into all of that, let's have a catch up. Emma, how have you been?
So I've been doing crafting as always. I took up watercolour painting recently, and you might have seen it shared on social media. And every opportunity I have, I'm there doing a little painting and following tutorials, or some of them are just I had an idea, sat there, and the idea hasn't happened, but it's turned out into something else that I've really liked. And so, yeah, I'm really enjoying doing that at the moment. So, I also went away for the weekend. I went to stay in Norfolk. My aunt, who's absolutely amazing, she lets me and my family stay in her house when she's away. So, we all went up there, took the dogs with us. My son even joined us, which is really quite unusual because he rarely leaves his bedroom. His autism gives him very bad anxiety. So having him come along, just like him, and my mum came along as well. So, we had a brilliant time. We went to the beach on the Saturday, and guess what I was doing whilst I was down there? Collecting fancy stones that I could find and lots of hagstones. So I was in my element as always. And then the following day, we hired a boat just for a couple of hours. And this was on the Broads, so not on the sea. We got to drive this little boat around on the Broads. The dogs came along with us. And my son, well, I mean, he had a go at driving it or piloting it. I don't know what the word would be. And he was brilliant. He really enjoyed it as well. We were like, "Right, we'll just let him do the driving," and we just sat back and enjoyed all of the nature around us. I mean, it was so peaceful other than the engine on the boat. But, we were, like, going past, swans nesting and, various other, birds that water birds that I don't even know what they are, but they were beautiful and it was a really, really lovely time. But obviously, that had to come to an end and we came home and yeah, it's been really nice. I've been having quite a few really nice weeks, just getting along with normal stuff. So how about you then, Med?
Well, firstly, I want to say that I really was in awe of your photos and videos of you guys on the boat, and it's inspired me to try and do the same with my family somewhere because I just think that's such a cool experience. Josh he's always had a bit of a fear of water, but when we went to Spain last year, it was so hard to get him to go in the pool, and then once he was in, we couldn't get him out. Same as the bath. So, I'm hoping that combined with me showing him the videos of Lucas driving the boat might get him onto a boat, and we can have a similar experience this summer. That'd be really cool. Talking of experiences with Josh and water, We had a lovely time at the beach this month, me and him. And it's actually a whole day out in Southend, and we were meant to be going on the rides there and going to the arcades and stuff. But we hardly did anything else apart from walk up and down the beach, and it was all led by Josh. He's just so much like me in that way. He loves to be outside, he loves being in the woods, he loves nature, he loves the sea. He just wanted to keep looking for sea glass across the beach, and I was telling him all about hagstones, explaining the lore around them and stuff, and saying that I've never actually found my own one. The ones that I have at home that he admires on my altar were found by you while I was there, and that you have a knack for finding them. And he just became so determined that today I was going to find my own hagstone myself, and he would not let me give up. And he really surprised me with his drive and belief that I was going to do it. And it was so lovely to see, because it's usually me instilling that into him and encouraging him to do things and not give up. And there are a few times that I kept looking because he wanted me to, and I wasn't convinced that I would find one, so my heart weren't really in it. But he really was so in that belief that I was going to find it that I was like, do you know what? Why can't I find a hagstone? He's right. So I did continue my search, and I found my first hagstone all by myself with the encouragement of Josh. So I really do believe that Josh also has a knack for drawing hagstones towards him, just as you do, Emma. Because I don't think that was me. I think that was his magic. But I appreciate it nonetheless.
I think it's your magic as well. You just haven't found it yet, as it were. Because I used to think that I'd never ever find them, and then when you kind of relax from it and you find your first one, it's just like, they just appear. I can't even explain it, but I'm very proud of Josh for persuading you to carry on.
Me too. He's got such resilience and such drive. He's very much like me in that way. And it's not often that I would give up on things. So it's usually me pushing him to carry on with his drive. So it was quite humbling to see him do that back for me. And also, he surprised me by how much he just wanted to keep walking and be along the beach as well, because I'd like had a whole budget for the amusements and stuff. And he didn't even spend any of it because he didn't want to go back there. He wanted to keep walking down the beach until it was time to go home. So we were walking up and down the beach for ages, which was lovely. Similarly, I went on a lovely walk yesterday with one of my friends to the local reservoir, and it's got like woods nearby, and I saw all the bluebells, and that was lovely. And another common theme I've noticed, not just for this month, but it's been coming up a lot for me this month, is since we've been doing this podcast and since I've kind of outed myself as a witch, I find that witches are just drawn to me. I'm meeting witches, and not just that, but people I already know are confiding in me that they too are a witch, which is not something they usually share with people. And so I'm realizing that most of my life I've been surrounded by other witches. And even more so now that I am accepting my authentic magical self, they're just being drawn to me, which I find really interesting and kind of magical in itself.
I had a very similar thing as well recently because I had a friend that I've known for a very long time since my daughter was little, and she asked to meet up with me, and she basically told me that she was a witch, and she had been all that time. She's a hereditary, is that what you call it? Hereditary witch, and I didn't have a clue. So yeah, I guess we do surround ourselves with these people without knowing.
Yeah, definitely. I think that we're drawn to the right energy for us. And yeah, when you're open to your own energy and aligned with yourself, it happens even more so, it seems magnified. So that's been like a magical part of this whole journey for Which Way Next for me. And talking of magic working, I started paying attention to my vision board that I made alongside Emma a few months ago. We did post it on our Patreon when we made it. And I realise a lot of it is already kind of coming through. It's happening. So the manifestation is doing its thing, and I'm feeling really positive about that, which is great. Part of the manifestation, I think actually spoke about this last month, but part of it was that I wanted all of the energy I put into doing work as a light worker and spreading positivity and sharing my magic with the world in various ways to come back towards me and to show me that it's working. And we touched a bit on how well the podcast is doing last month. But I thought with that theme, I'd like to share that this month and most months, the podcast has been in various charts, Apple Podcast charts across the world. And we don't usually talk about that much on here. But I figured not everybody's on our social media, so they might be interested to know. So this month, for the first time, we also entered the Japanese charts, and we also reached number 3 in the Armenian charts, which I think is just amazing. I think we're in 6 charts across the world at the moment. So thank you so much to everyone for listening to us and for shining the light back at us. And that's all I have to say. That's been my month in a nutshell.
So today we're diving into something that feels really foundational, but also really personal. We're talking about the elements earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. Not just what they are, but how they actually show up in our lives, our emotions, and our magic. I think sometimes we hear about the elements in a really structured way, like something you have to memorize, but actually they are things that we're already experiencing every single day.
Before we get into how we work with the elements, it's actually really interesting to look at where this all comes from. Because this isn't just something that popped up in modern spirituality. People have been using the elements to understand the world for thousands of years.
Before that, different philosophers actually believed in just one element. Thales thought everything came from water. Another believed it was air, and another believed it was fire. So there was this ongoing question of what is everything made of? What's really interesting is they weren't just seen as physical substances, they were seen as forces or qualities. Earth represented solid, heavy grounding, water is flowing and changing, air is light and moving, and fire is active and transforming. These weren't just about the world around them, they were about human nature too.
Later on, philosophers like Aristotle introduced a 5th element, often called aether or quintessence. These were believed to be the substance that made up the heavens, something more refined than the physical elements. And also names you'll know very well if you are a gamer like me. It's kind of where we get that idea of spirit.
And it wasn't just the Greeks. Different cultures had their own versions of the elements. In ancient China, it was wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. In Indian traditions, it was earth, water, fire, air, and space. These systems weren't identical, but they all had the same core idea that the world is made up of a few fundamental forces and that balance between them is really important.
These ideas didn't just stay in philosophy, they actually became the basis of medicine for a long time. The Greeks believed that the body had 4 humours, which were linked to the 4 elements. And your health, both physical and emotional, depending on those being in balance. So even back then, they were already linking the elements to how we feel.
Now, as we move forward to the Middle Ages, these ideas became really important in alchemy. Alchemists worked with the elements not just to understand matter, but to understand transformation, both physically and spiritually. It wasn't just about turning metal into gold, it was about transforming the self.
Across all of these traditions, whether it be philosophy, medicine, or magic, the focus always came back to one thing: balance. Not having more of one or less of another, but understanding how they all move together. Because it's not just about what the world is made of, it's about how we experience it.
So now that we've talked a bit about where the elements come from, I think what's really important is what they actually are to us now. It can actually be really helpful to think of them as ways we experience life.
Like, Earth isn't just soil or nature, it's the things that hold us: stability, routine, our body, our home.
And air isn't just wind, it's what moves through us. Our thoughts, communication, that kind of constant mental movement, like when your brain won't switch off.
And fire. That's what drives us: motivation, passion, but also anger, burnout. That also happens to me a lot. The burnout, not the anger. It's that energy that pushes things forward or sometimes pushes too far.
And water feels like everything emotional, intuition, sensitivity, overwhelmed sometimes, like when you feel something but you can't quite explain it.
And then spirit. That feels like a connective piece. The meaning behind things, the something more, the bit that ties everything together, the invisible string if you're a Swiftie.
You had to get a Taylor Swift thing in there, didn't you?
And I think it's really interesting that even though different cultures have slightly different systems, most of them work with 4 or 5 elements in some form. So, this idea of experiencing things through energies is something that's been recognized for a long time.
And when you start to see the elements like that, it makes understanding their correspondences feel a bit more natural.
It's more like each element has its own little world.
So, like we said, earth is everything grounding, stability, home, the body, routine. So, naturally, that links to things like herbs, crystals, soil, trees, and even directions like north and colours like greens and browns.
Air connects to thoughts, communication, breath. So you might see that in things like incense, smoke, feathers, and direction wise, that's often east, with lighter colours like yellows or whites.
Fire is passion, action, transformation. So that shows up in candles, the sun, heat, and that's usually linked to the south with reds and oranges.
Water is emotion, intuition, healing. So you might work with bowls of water, rain, the moon, that's often west, with blues and silvers.
And then spirit, it feels a bit different. It's not always tied to one direction. It's more like the in between, the connection, the unseen thread running through everything.
So once you start to understand the elements in this way, with the colours, the emotions, the objects, the energy behind them, then the question becomes, what do you actually do with that? One of the easiest ways to start working with the elements is through the choices you make in your space. Things like your altar, or even just a small area you come back to.
Yes, because once you know what each element represents, you can start to choose what you place there more intentionally.
So, for example, if you're needing more grounding, more stability, you might bring in more earth energy. Things like crystals, plants, natural textures, greens and browns.
Or if your mind feels really busy, really overactive, you might bring in air through incense, feathers, even just creating a bit more space to breathe.
And this is where it becomes really personal because it's not about using all the elements all of the time. It's about noticing what feels out of balance. Like if you're feeling really stuck, unmotivated, there might be a lack of fire. So you'd bring in things that spark that energy.
Or if you're feeling really overwhelmed emotionally, that could be too much water. So you might gently bring in something more grounding, like earth. And sometimes it's not even about adding something, it's about softening something that already feels quite strong.
And there's no right or wrong way to do this. It's more like noticing patterns, what you're drawn to, what feels like it's missing. And once you start to notice that, that's where you can begin to shape your rituals around it.
So instead of just doing something because you've seen it somewhere, you're actually choosing it based on what you need, which makes it feel a lot more intentional and a lot more connected. And that's exactly what we're going to move into next. How you can start working with the elements in simple rituals.
So, this is actually the foundation of your rituals. So, I like to do this before doing any spell work, and it's creating your elemental circle and calling in the elements to be part of your craft. So, I don't have an old fashioned compass, so I have an app on my phone. It's called Compass and it shows me where the directions are so that I can face the right way while doing this. So I like to stand up and face the right direction with my palms outwards facing that way. But you can just visualize this if you prefer or if you have mobility issues. And then I call on each element and I'm going to share the words that I use to do this with you. So we start by facing north and we call in earth. I call on the element of earth. Bring your stability and resilience to my magic today. And then we face west with water. I call on the element of water. Bring your fluidity and compassion to my magic today. And then we face south for fire. I call on the element of fire. Bring the light and heat of your transformative energy to my magic today. And then air is east. I call on the element of air. Bring me mental clarity as I perform my magic today. So, this is the elemental circle I've always used since I first started my practice. And it was before I kind of really recognized and understood that there is a fifth element, spirit. And I've just stuck with what I've always done. But you could obviously add in the element of spirit. And also, you don't need to use my words. This is just a personal thing I put together. I kind of looked at lots of different ones on Pinterest, which was my go-to back then. It was before the days of ChatGPT and all of that. And I took out the bits I liked most and put them together. But I just thought I'd share that with you. I'd love to hear also how you call in the elements and whether you do the 4 or the 5. So once you finish whichever spell work or ritual you're doing that you've called in your elemental circle for, it's good practice to then thank each of those elements and close down the circle. And I do this in the most simple way. It then goes back from the last element you called in. So we do it backwards. So we go from air to fire. And so I start facing east and I say, thank you, Earth, for blessing me today. You're free to go and welcome to stay. And I basically repeat this for each one. So it's air, fire, water, earth. So east, south, west, north. So when we were recording the calling in the elements section, we actually paused for a second because Emma asked a question that we realised we'd never really thought about before. Why do we call in the elements counterclockwise?
And when we looked into it, we couldn't actually find one clear, direct answer, which I actually really like because it kind of shows how much of this is shaped by different traditions and personal practice.
What we did find, though, is that some witches use both directions, just for different reasons. So, in a lot of practices, moving clockwise is associated with building energy, calling things in, creating, manifesting.
And then counterclockwise is often linked to releasing, undoing, clearing, and letting things go.
Which is interesting because for us, I don't think we've ever really come across it being done clockwise. Whenever I've been to witchy circles, or when I was, like I said, I researched myself when I was first practicing and I was checking Google and Pinterest and stuff like that on how I wanted to word calling in the elements. I never saw it counterclockwise ever. And it's not even something that I questioned. I just accepted that it's done this way. So it's interesting to hear that some people do it the other way.
Yeah, clearly there are other people who use clockwise, and I guess it makes sense when you think about it. If you're calling something in, it's building energy, and that direction aligns with that intention.
I think what this really highlights is, and it's something we say again and again on Which Way Next, is there is no right way to do anything. It all comes back to intention. It's not about getting every detail perfect. It's about working in a way that feels connected and makes sense to you.
So here's a little taster of the types of rituals you could do. So for earth, you could sit barefoot, hold a stone. You could do some gardening or stand with your bare feet on the soft, dewy grass. For air, you could do breath work or do some journaling to get your thoughts out. With fire, this is the place for candle intention and releasing anger into the flame. And I have to say, I really enjoy a little bit of fire magic. Water, you could do a bath ritual. One of the things I like doing is using different aromatherapy oils in my bath, but you could do things with adding up things like crystals and herbs. Washing your hands with intention is another way to use water.
So, those are just some ideas for
Right.
rituals you can do related to elements. If you want to go deeper into this, we do offer rituals and a whole host of things over on our Patreon each month. So, this month and every month is very much tied into the episode's topic. So, at the moment, we've got our Moments of Magic, which offer a ritual, recipe, and craft, and they're all around the elements this time. So we've got an elemental connection ritual, we've got an elemental herbal tea for our recipe, and we've got the elemental pebble set as the craft, and we talk you through how to do each of those. We also offer a connected oracle foam wallpaper, a colouring in sheet, and a journal sheet each month. So if you're interested in joining us for any of those, we'd love to see you over there. So, Emma, we've come to that time. It's time for magical dilemmas. Are you ready for today's question?
Yeah, of course I'm ready.
You gain the ability to hear guidance, a voice that always tells you the right path to take in life. But you must follow it exactly. You can't question it. And you'll never know what would have happened if you chose differently. Do you trust the voice completely or keep your freedom even if it means uncertainty?
Oh, right. Okay. So it's always going to tell me the right thing to do, but I have to follow it exactly.
Yes.
See that takes two sides of me. So there's one side of me that really wants to like follow rules,
And then there's the PDA.
and then there's the PDA. And also the kind of like I always think it's really important to question everything. So that's where I would fail because even though someone's told me that that is the correct and right way to do something, I would still be there being, "Are you sure?" So it's really difficult. I really want to be able to just follow it and know everything's going to come out great. But if I don't follow it, things could still turn out great, just a different way. Mm. I don't
It's true.
know.
Yes. That's the pondering part, isn't it? You don't know.
Yeah. I don't wanna have bad things happen because it depends how bad those things are that it's guiding me with. That's so much to think about. Um, I think I would ignore it and I'd call on my other guides and see what they think.
But what if the voice is your guides?
What, it's all of them? Don't
What if they have come together and they have said, right, let's help Emma on her path. We're going to guide her with this voice. And then you're just like, I'm just going to ignore it. And like, for fuck's sake, Emma, we literally gave you a voice.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a real big
I'm not trying to
person.
change your answer. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, I'm always one for, sometimes you need to learn from your own mistakes, don't you?
Yeah, definitely.
It's life lessons, as long as they're not too harsh. the things that are happening and the things that you do. Um, but
I
if
mean,
I
that's
know,
true.
yeah, I mean, if I know for absolutely sure that this voice is really telling the truth, then I would follow it, definitely. Um, but it has to be able to give me those reasons. Like it's any rules out there that governments make, that teachers, anything that anyone makes, I will always question it because I'm like, I'm not just going to follow you blindly. Um, yeah, that was a tricky one. Did I actually conclude that then?
Kind of. Kind
Yeah,
of. It was an open answer, but it was an answer.
yeah. What would
But
you do?
yeah, I feel the same as you. I always question rules. I don't just follow anything blindly, and I've taught my children the same. Like I've never believed in this whole listen to your elders just because they're older. If they respect you and show you that they're doing things right, then you respect them back and follow what they say, not just because they're older. Um, but yeah, in terms of this voice, do you know what? Have you watched the series Manifest?
No.
It's so funny because this question came up as an option, and it was the first thing I thought of, and I've only just finished it. It's an old series, but I only just watched it, and that's what basically happens to them. Um, with if you've not watched it and you plan to watch it, I'm gonna slightly spoil it here. But what's happening is that it's giving them they've gone on this plane crash and they disappeared for 5 years and they come back and they come back with this voice in their heads that's in their own voice, each of them. Um, and it tells them what they need to do to be on the right path. It keeps telling them things they need to do. And it is that whole thing. They have a whole dilemma of do we trust this voice? Do we follow it? And then they realize over time that when they don't follow it, bad things happen. When they do follow it, good things happen. And it's actually a test and it's divine intervention or whatever you want to call it. And um, it's testing whether they deserve to have lived or not, basically. Are they good people? Do they have faith and follow the right things?
Oh, I need to
Um,
watch this now.
it's really good. I was so hooked on it. It's really good. Highly recommend it. But yeah, that's what it reminded me of. And while I was watching it, I was thinking, would I listen to this voice or not? And it's your own voice, and you don't know where it's come from. So like you said, you would want to know where is the voice coming from. You'd want an explanation of it. But in the manifest, there isn't an explanation of it. They have to discover it themselves.
Yeah.
Um, but they do want to know. So yeah, it's a hard question.
That
I
puts a different
feel like
perspective on it though, doesn't it? Because if it's your own voice, I mean, I listen to my own voice and I make so many mistakes
it's
myself.
been put to them as their own voice, but it's
Yeah.
clearly not them speaking, if you know
Yeah,
what I
I
mean.
know. I
And then
know.
as the series goes on, they're actually hearing each other's, they called them what did they call them? Callings. They're actually
Ah,
hearing each other's callings in each other's voices and stuff as time goes on and stuff. But anyway, I'm digressing because I really loved that program, and also the ending is brilliant as well. You know, like sometimes endings disappointing,
yeah.
but this ending's really good. Anyway, but
I was are we gonna start doing like reviews every month?
oh, we could do. That's a really good idea. This is because the show is very much in keeping with our podcast. It is
Ooh.
spirituality. So yeah, maybe
Yeah.
we should do that. That's a good idea. Although I'm running out of programs to watch. I've
Yeah.
watched all the really good spiritual ones, I
Yeah, but
think.
that doesn't matter because you can rewatch them.
I cannot rewatch things.
Can't you? Oh,
No,
I'm
this is
one of
why I
those
run
people
out.
that can watch, I've probably watched Game of Thrones, like, 5 times.
I can rewatch it after a certain amount of time has passed because my ADHD brain forgets most of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I have to wait until I've forgotten it, and some things
Yeah.
I don't forget, so I can't rewatch them, unfortunately. I'm the same with books, can't reread.
Oh, I love rereading books. I'm
No.
so different with that. Anyway,
It's
we've
different 'cause I love certain books, I'd love to feel again what I felt reading it, but I just don't forget them enough. Right,
Ah,
Digressing.
anyway.
Again, ADHD. Right. My answer to the question is, oh, what is the my answer to the question? I don't actually know. Do I trust the voice completely? See, it's hard because I would want to trust I would feel like this voice has come to me for a reason and it's intuitive. So I'd want to trust it. But I'm also a firm believer that the reason we are on this plane, Earth, whatever you want to call it, in this body, doing what we're doing, is to learn the lessons we needed to learn in this life. Because I believe that there's more lives, and that, or I don't really know how it happens because I don't remember it, and, and I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I do believe that we come here to learn specific lessons, and then we kind of uh, bring ourselves closer to our more authentic higher selves. But how are you learning lessons if somebody's telling you the answers?
Mm.
But then maybe, I don't know, maybe that's part of the lesson is to trust your intuition because maybe that voice is your voice. I don't know. I guess if I got to the point where I was hearing a voice in my head and I was doing things and realizing it was the right path because positive things were coming from it, then I would have more trust in that voice and therefore I would continue to listen to it.
But was it we had to make that decision whether to listen to it, like, outright beforehand, or we'd never get any advice from it again, or at all? We're just told that voice. I can't remember how the question
Because
went.
you gain the ability to hear guidance, a voice that always tells you the right path. So I guess you just gain the ability to hear it. There's no explanation. It just suddenly is in your brain.
Oh,
I'm assuming.
yeah. Okay.
We'd
Yeah.
probably listen to it the first time, just because I guess I'd be like thinking, why on earth has this voice just suddenly come in my head? And why is it telling me to do that? So I guess I'd be like intrigued to see what happened if I did what it said the first time. And then I guess good things would come from it. And so I'd continue.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine not reaching a point where I'd be like, let me see what happens if I do the opposite of what it says. Is that gonna, does it really matter? I can't see
Your
me not
rebellious side.
it's not necessarily rebellious, it's just like, why am I following this voice? What happens if I don't? Do I even still have free will anymore?
Yeah. Oh, again, yeah, it's that free will, isn't it? That's a tricky one. And
But
I
it's
I've never believed in following things blindly.
no,
Like even with witchcraft or religions or anything like that, I would never follow blindly. That's when you get into all sorts of trouble.
exactly. That's a really hard question, but so
Yeah.
interesting. Very up my alley. I'm glad we got that question.
Yeah. I'd love to hear what other people think about that.
Yeah, me too. I'd love to hear other people's answers and insight into that. And also let me know if you watch Manifest and what you thought of it and the ending. Because not many people have watched it. And I really love that program.
So now we're nearing the end of this episode. We'd like you to join us in a reflective moment. Maybe after everything we've spoken about today, the elements, balance, energy, you might find yourself noticing things differently. Where you feel steady and where you don't. What feels full and what feels like it's been a bit neglected. Not to fix it, not to change it straight away, just to recognize it. Because sometimes that's where the shift begins.
Thank you for listening to this episode and being a part of our journey. If you've been enjoying walking this path with us, leaving a review helps more people find their way here too. If you'd like to continue the conversation, you can join us on our Facebook group, Which Way Next? Podcast community. When you join, you'll be asked for the names of the host, and that's Med and Emma.
You can also find us on our Facebook page, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. If you'd like to get in touch with us to share a listener story, ask a question, or work with us, You can email us at whichwaynext@gmail.com. So I've been Med.
I've been Emma.
Join us next time when we ask the question, which way next? My chair creaked during that, so I muted afterwards, but I don't know if it was picked up or not.
We'll just tell everyone I farted. It's fine.
I'm so fed up with saying which is interested because I'm not interested anymore. It was interesting half an hour ago. Now the moment has passed. Right. Which is interesting because for us, I don't think we've ever really come across it being done clockwise. So, Emma, we've come to that time. Oh, I don't know what I'm saying.
I think that was